The laughter started before I even understood the joke. It rolled across the banquet hall, sharp and careless. My sister stood at the center of it, holding a glass of champagne beneath a banner that read, Distinguished Service Award. Cameras flashed around her uniform, medals catching the light. Then she pointed at me. And this, she said proudly, is my big brother, currently unemployed. The room exploded. Officers laughed. A few wives covered their mouths politely. Someone clapped like it was harmless fun. I felt every pair of eyes land on me. My sister smiled wider, enjoying the moment. I didn't defend myself. I didn't argue. I simply placed my untouched drink on the table, turned around, and walked out of the hall. No drama, no explanation, just silence. 2 days later, I drove through the gates of her military base. The guard suddenly snapped upright. Welcome back, Lieutenant Colonel. Elena wasn't always like that. When we were younger, she admired me. Our father disappeared when she was 12. Our mother worked double shifts at the hospital. Most nights, it was just the two of us at the kitchen, table with cheap takeout and unfinished homework. I practically raised her. I taught her how to ride a bike, how to throw a punch when a boy pushed her, how to study when things felt impossible. When I joined the Army, she told everyone at school. My brother's a soldier, she'd say proudly. Years later, she followed the same path. ROTC scholarship, officer training, a fast, confident rise. I helped her study strategy. I reviewed her early reports. Back then, she still called me for advice. But promotions change people. Recognition changes people faster. Soon, Elena had interviews, awards, and a reputation for being one of the base's rising officers. Meanwhile, I disappeared from public view. That's when the assumptions began. 6 months before the banquet, I noticed the shift. We were having dinner with some of her colleagues when one of them asked what I did now. Before I could answer, Elena laughed lightly. Oh, he's just enjoying civilian life, she said, taking a break. The table nodded politely. But her tone carried something else. Embarrassment. That was the moment I realized something simple. My sister believed the rumors, too. That I had left the Army quietly. That I'd failed. What she didn't know was that my retirement had never been real. 2 years earlier, I accepted a classified liaison role with a joint intelligence task force. No uniforms. No public record. No online presence. Operational security required total silence. Even family wasn't informed. Most people assumed I'd stepped away from military life. Elena never bothered to ask. And at her award ceremony, she turned that assumption into a punchline. That was her mistake. When I walked out of that hall, I wasn't angry. Anger makes people reckless. I prefer patience. Patience wins wars. The next morning, I called Colonel Reyes. You ready to come back on base? He asked. I think it's time, I said. He chuckled softly. Good timing. Command Review Board meets this week. Exactly what I needed. Add my name, I told him. 2 days later, I drove toward Fort Halbrook. The checkpoint guard stepped to my window. Identification, sir. I handed him my military card. He scanned it, then straightened immediately. Sir. The second guard snapped to attention beside him. Welcome back, Lieutenant Colonel. The gate opened. Just like that. Military bases run on information. Rumors move faster than vehicles. By the time I walked into headquarters, whispers were already spreading. A returning lieutenant colonel. Strategic operations background. Command review scheduled. People were curious. I didn't rush. I walked the corridors calmly, letting the news reach the right ears. Including Elena's. 3 hours later, she walked into the briefing room. She stopped the moment she saw me. Her eyes dropped to my uniform. Silver oak leaves on my chest. Lieutenant Colonel. Around the table sat officers who had laughed at her joke 2 nights earlier. Recognition spread across their faces slowly. The unemployed brother now sat at the command review table. Above their rank. Elena's voice barely came out. Daniel? I nodded once. Major. Silence filled the room. No one laughed this time. After the meeting, she pulled me into the hallway. What is going on? She demanded. No secret, I said calmly. You left the Army. Officially. Her expression cracked. You let me believe you were... nothing. I met her eyes evenly. You believed what you wanted to believe. She had no answer. That afternoon, the assignment board finalized its decisions. Major Elena Vasquez would remain in her current role. No promotion. No fast-track command. Just another officer waiting her turn. Meanwhile, I accepted a strategic operations position overseeing several units on base. One of them was hers. Later that evening, officers passed me in the hallway and greeted me with sharp respect. The same people who had laughed at the banquet now spoke carefully. Rank has a funny effect on memory. Elena walked past without looking at me. For the first time in years, she looked uncertain. Small. People think revenge requires shouting. It doesn't. Real revenge is quiet. 2 nights earlier, I walked away from a room full of laughter. Today, the same world stood at attention, and I never had to say a single word.